Warren Brinson and Nazir Stackhouse are both back, and that defensive line should be better. They weren't bad, talking about Georgia's defense line in 2023, but by Kirby Smart's standard, there was a step back after Jalen Carter and those guys left. Um, that was an opposing SEC assistant coach talking about Kirby Smart and the Dogs. That was in Athlon. Look, there was a step back, and some of us talked about that in the summer of 2023 going into the year. There was a step back, but it wasn't like it was a colossal failure last season for Georgia on the defensive line. That said, you're going to need to see better production, I guess is the way I would put it, for everybody on the line. There's let's just go to rushing defense here for Georgia. A season ago in 23, they were the number 18 team in the country in run defense, almost 114 per game. A season before that, where were they? They were number 1. They allowed 77. So they were giving up not quite 60 more yards, not quite 50 more yards a game, 40, 50 more yards a game. I mean, that adds up. You saw what Tech did. You saw what Missouri did, Auburn. Now, it may be that, and to some degree, UAB as well, but it may be that, Georgia just played real run-heavy teams this year, and but they didn't just shut people down. That was the thing. They didn't just shut people down. And 2.88 yards per rush a season ago versus in 22, versus 3.77. So that's a pretty significant difference in terms of percentage. And that's something that Georgia's going to have to get right. Were they really good? Will they be better this season? I don't know. I mean, I think they probably will be slightly better. It would depend on the play of a few of these guys. Now, in the SEC, they were probably the second or third best, depending on how you want to cut it, team against the run. Texas A&M had a very good defensive line. It's gotten busted up, but they had a very good defensive line. For Georgia, with Nazir and Brinson coming back, you've got Ingram Dawkins, who missed a lot of the year. You got Williams. We'll see what happens with Jarrett and Hall. There's a lot of guys that could be coming into their own in 2024. It's a big year for Williams. I mean, he could be a first-round draft pick. He could be number 1 overall. I don't think that's out of the question at all. But it's, in terms of the front 7 at Georgia might be better than the front 4. Like the linebackers combined with the defensive line, I think that's a better situation. And when you look at Smile Munden, Walker, Chambliss, you got C.J. Allen. There's just so many guys, and the newcomers that are coming in for Georgia too. I mean, these linebackers in Athens are I would say the real deal. I think Justin Williams is going to be a very good player for Georgia quick. And, as fast as C.J. Allen, I don't know. But I wouldn't be shocked by that. I would not be shocked by that. And then on the defensive line, that usually takes a little bit of time unless it's obvious. But they've got guys coming in as well. But you don't want to depend on defensive linemen. Of course, you have a transfer in from South Carolina that came in on the defensive line. I mean, Trey Scott's done a really good job of not just recruiting, because the recruiting has been spectacular. Trayvon, Jalen, Jordan Davis, those guys they powered the 2021 team. 22, it was more Jalen. This past season, there was no superstar. There was no guy on the defensive line at Georgia that you're like, wow, this guy could just take a game over. No, that's gone. Trayvon could do that. Jordan could do that, but it was mainly Jalen and Trayvon that could just take games over in 2021. And when they weren't doing it, you had, taking games over as a defensive lineman. It's like saying shut down corner. Like people talk about it a lot. It's just not a common thing. I mean that's really hard to do, and because they can run away from you, and you can't. It's hard to tell you shut a game down in that sense. But you know the people that we talked to coming into the summer coming out of going into 23, they were very high on Warren Brinson. They thought he had a very good, that looked good. And I will say this: losing Bear Alexander to SC, that doesn't help either. Like that's one more guy he made plays in the national championship game against TCU, and then he was gone. So you lose some depth there, and some younger guys had to play. Will that transition this season? It certainly could. But I love Georgia's linebackers. I think they're outstanding. Obviously, the secondary's got some pieces to replace for sure, but they're pretty good as well. But Mikael Williams could be the number 1 overall draft pick. Could be. You'd like to see Ingram Dawkins getting completely healthy, Brinson Stackhouse, and then somebody else going to have to really kind of show up a little bit more and play to the level of potential that they've got. And that will, but there is no Jalen Carter. That person is not there. There is no, Jordan Davis. That person is not there. They're not there, and it's just all there is to it. And Georgia's going to have to figure out how to create problems for everybody else that they're dealing with. I mean, that's just all there is to it. Hey, so listen, Ecopoly is now SoPoly 478-374-6398. You can also go to sopoly.com. The same company. They've got the same showroom and warehouse. It would be great for you to go visit them. You can just call them, or better yet, all around the country. Literally, like, I don't know, let's just say Macon, Georgia. So I'm just typing this in randomly. And you've got dealers in the area, okay? Down in Houston at Warner Robins, Bonaire, Putnam, obviously in Eatonton. You can get great value for your money. I've told this story several times. I bought chairs for a beach house not that long ago. They are not close to the quality that SoPoly's got. They're not close. They move around and all that, but you can hear it. I've been sitting in this chair for close to a year, y'all. It is the real deal. So when these rockers, the tables, which we have too, they are awesome. You can customize them. All you got to do is give them a call. I'm just doing it real quick here on the screen. See if I can. Like, this would be really awesome for tailgating, by the way. If it's something you want to do, the Savannah Square bar table. Anyway, the number at SoPoly is 478-374-6398. You can look for the dealers on their website. Just go to sopoly.com. And, if you live in, let's just say, Georgia's going to be going to play. And I've got to go to Dallas soon for media days, which is very annoying. I could just go by their dealer in Dallas. I'm annoyed that I have to go there for media days, but that's another story. That's another story for another day. But I think, the other thing too is you want, just like, SoPoly is going to give you options. Like, for instance, I'll change this real quick on the screen. SoPoly is giving you options on what you can do. Georgia's got to have options on that defensive line. It cannot just be that they're dependent on one person. And we saw when Jalen Carter got hurt in 22, during the midst of the season, then other guys had to step up and play. But these guys are really good players. And they should be playing really well. By the way, it's just the ability to customize what you want. And this is just a bar table. The ability to customize what you want, if you're like a school district or stuff like that, you can, like, let's just say your colors are green and gold. Last thing. I mean, that is a neat looking thing. If you were Clarkston or Cross Keys or one of these schools that is green and gold, looks good to me. But anyway, I think Georgia's defensive line, Trey Scott has become a very good developer. Obviously, was always a very good recruiter. They are a very good tandem that they've got at Georgia with that defense of recruiting and developing defensive line players, prospects into stars. Devontae Wyatt, Could Nazir have a breakout like that, or Warren Brinson? Could they? They could. I mean, I never saw from them when I saw them when they were in high school. I never saw from them the explosion and so forth I saw from Devontae, him running track and all that stuff. But they are good players for sure. But everybody's got to develop. Everybody's got to do their part. And that number, that plus 3 yard average on run, if you can get it closer to 3.0 than 3.3 or something like that, then the better that things will be.